Well, after many different fan theories, it would seem that everything that everyone has thought about the show is finally coming true. Hey guys, time for Westworld, Season 1, Episode 9, The Well-Tempered Clavier, and holy shit, one episode. I mean, this episode was something, really. I mean, I know last week I said, don't do fan theories, and that, oh, there's no way this is true. No, after this episode, I believe pretty much every fan theory there is, because, wow, I mean, I'm pretty sure they were all confirmed this episode, really. There was so much that was explored in this episode, and I heard that next week we actually are going to find out pretty much everything, and I'll get into that at the end of this review, but let's just get into this episode because damn is there a lot to talk about. I mean, so many great scenes in this episode. Just absolutely loving this show, and I can't wait for next week's finale, but let's just get right into it. So we start off with Maeve. She's getting interrogated by Bernard, and Maeve lies to Bernard and says she actually slit Clementine's throat because she perceived her to be a threat to the guests, which triggered a Good Samaritan reflex. We know that's not the case. It was obviously to get her out of there. However, Maeve comes alive when Bernard checks Maeve's personality, attributes, and quickly reveals that she knows Bernard is a host, which would make sense since Maeve knows all that stuff that's going on now, and she shuts Bernard down using her newfound powers of persuasion, but says that she won't erase his memory because that's what the humans do. And ultimately, Maeve has Bernard send her back into the park so she can meet with Hector and his gang. And the way that she actually has power over Bernard, it makes sense because, you know, Bernard actually is a host, as we know. She seems to have tons of power when it comes to hosts, and it would make sense why she has power over him here. Now that we know that he's a host, it definitely makes sense there. And so he does send her back to go with Hector and his gang. So as we know last week, you know, Logan came up to William, and it's been the last time since they saw each other in a while. And William, as you know, has exponentially changed since Logan last saw him, and that's a big part of this episode, is how different these two have really become. You know, the white hat and the black hat sort of situation. And William tries to explain to Logan that Dolores has somehow become self-sentient, and he doesn't know how, but that's exactly what's happened to her. And he asks Logan to help get Dolores out of the park, but Dolores wonders whether getting out is so wonderful if the guests keep clamoring to get back in. And that's really something that I think the show has explored really well this season, is that we don't really know what's out there. That's something that I don't really think they've talked a lot about. But yeah, we don't really know what's out there in the outside world. We know that, of course, you know, there's definitely cures, and that every single, you can't get sick, you know, the sicknesses and stuff like that are completely evaporated because every cure is available. But we don't know much else about the outside world. But all we know is that every single person, or most people, want to come into Westworld, and we don't really know why, but Dolores really does have a point there that, you know, if people keep going to Westworld, maybe the outside world really isn't that great. And a lot of people are thinking that they're going to explore that in Season 2, which I'm going to get into, but Logan says he's going to help William, but not in the way he wants, and then he drags Logan away, so clearly he's going to try to get William to go back to his fiance, because that's how this all started out, and basically try to jog his memory, and basically try to get him from losing his mind, because he kind of is losing his shit, but again, you can understand why. But Bernard then sneaks into Ford's office. He asks Ford to meet him in cold storage, and Bernard confronts Ford and reveals that he knows that Arnold wrote the more elegant parts of his code. And Bernard asks Ford to give him access to all of his memories so he can meet Arnold. And Ford warns Bernard he might not like what he finds. But Bernard gives Clementine 1.0's gun because they never reset her prime directive to kill people. And again, remember, they made her kill people before to help persuade Ford to unlock his memories. And that's a big part of this episode. And Bernard actually falls into his memories. He wakes up in a hospital room next to Charlie, and he slowly relives his memories and realizes that he killed both Teresa and Elsie. He actually did kill Elsie, and remember, you know, Ford erased all of this from his memory, but I like that Bernard is finding out what's going on here. And after briefly waking up, he tells Ford to send him back because he wants to know everything that's going on. You know, he doesn't just want to know a little bit, he wants to know pretty much everything. So Logan drags William in front of a campfire, and he goes on this rant about how William has totally forgotten about his sister, and Logan shows William a photo, the one that Abernathy found in the pilot episode of William's fiance, and then says that he's not the first person to fall for a host, and And that was very interesting to see. We know we saw that, but we haven't seen that picture, as we know, since the first episode. So to see that come back here definitely makes me think that that whole theory about William and the Men in Black being the same could honestly be true. I mean, things like this definitely make me think that. I mean, why else would Abernathy have had that photo? And Logan grabs Dolores, tells her to convince him that she's a real live girl, and then stabs Dolores in the stomach and to show off her more mechanical innards to William. And as Dolores lies bleeding on the ground, Dolores tells Logan that Arnold made this world beautiful, but humans kept running it, and she then grabs a gun. She then actually grabs a knife, not a gun, and she slashes Logan's face before making her escape, and just seeing the damage that she can do, I think was definitely very interesting to see, and definitely I think is going to play a big part into this, definitely. So as Dolores runs away, Arnold tells her to remember, and she suddenly isn't bleeding anymore. So again, we know that hosts very quickly, if they bleed out, and then they have to go back to headquarters and everything, but somehow she's not bleeding anymore. We don't know how, but Maeve then approaches Hector with a gun, warns him that one of Hector's posse, the girl with the snake tattoo, aka Armistice, who, for some reason, is the main character. I don't really know why. We've barely seen her, but is it that she's about to kill him. And after Maeve's prediction comes true, Maeve offers Hector a partnership. She wants to ride into hell and rob the place blind. And when Maeve tells Hector to stab her if he doesn't want to follow, it triggers Hector's past memories, and he agrees to come. So Hector and Maeve start to wake up. Hector asks how they get to hell, so Maeve sets the camp on fire while they continue to have sex, and it seems that she genuinely does want to get out of there, and that she wants to get him out of there as well, so I really do like where that's going. And the sex scene between them wasn't really a sex scene of just sexual desire. I saw this more as like a way that these two get to know each other, get on good terms with each other and agree with each other. I just thought it was a really well done scene, and also did show, that Maeve really does mean it when she wants to leave. And Logan then approaches William with a bottle of rum to reconcile with him, and asks if William now realizes that the place isn't real, and William apologizes for getting so caught up, so Logan unties him, and Logan says that everyone gets very seduced by Westworld, and then says that they had a real bonding experience together, and they hug it out, and it seems that Logan's actually gotten on William's good side, that maybe he might actually get on good terms with William, possibly. We don't know if this is actually true, but that's what it seemed like to me. But Teddy then wakes him in a camp surrounded by Wyatt's followers, and the blonde woman, Angela, tells Teddy he can find Wyatt in Escalante. Now, it is important to note that the woman that we saw here, Angela, is actually the same host that introduced William to when he first came to Westworld. So again, that's another connection that could be that William and the Men in Black are in fact the same person. That's another connection that shows that. But the place that Teddy and Wyatt massacre in the past, as we know, and Teddy recounts the massacre, but the women force him to remember there was actually a past memory in which Teddy, as a sheriff, shot up the entire town, and the woman then kills Teddy after telling him that Wyatt will meet him in the city, swallowed by sand. And after the Man in Black reveals that he's been to the city, swallowed by sand, the woman then knocks him out too, and we know that the city, swallowed by sand, is in fact the new, design that, the new storyline that Ford's trying to create. So again, this definitely makes me think that that possibly could be in the past too. I don't really know. I mean, we'll have to see what's going on there. I don't know if the Man in Black knows about the city swallowed by sand or what's really going on there, but we know that Ford does want to create that. Like, that's his next, that's the whole thing that the movers have been doing, whatever you want to call them, the people who work for him and everything. They've been trying to, they've been trying to design the city swallowed by sand, but I think it's very interesting where that's going to go. But the next morning, the Man in Black wakes up with a rope around his neck. The rope has been thrown over a tree branch and then tied to a horse, so if the horse walks away, he will in fact be hanged, which is pretty crazy to think about. And the Man in Black then slowly makes his way over to Teddy's body. He grabs a knife in his gut and cuts himself free just as Charlotte walks up to him. And this is a very interesting scene. Charlotte explains that the current situation to the Man in Black and says that she wants his vote to help push Ford out of power. And the Man in Black says he's interested in someone else's narrative, so he doesn't mind if Ford gets booted out, but warns her not to interrupt him again. So it seems that the Man in Black understands what Ford is doing, but at the same time, he's kind of tired of the same old stuff from Ford, because remember, the Man in Black's been there for 30 years. Like, he's gone to this place for 30 years. He's gotten used to it all. He's there to see the end of the park. And he warns her not to interrupt him again. So I think that's very interesting, what's going to happen with that, and especially when he talks about the fact that, he doesn't mind if Ford gets booted out. I think it definitely is very interesting. We know these two have some sort of a connection. We just don't really know what it's about yet, and I think it's interesting. So Stubbs then gets alerted that they found Elsie's tablet in a remote part of the park. Remember last week he found that Elsie has disappeared, and he kind of is under suspicion that Bernard might have killed her, but he heads into the park to look, but he quickly gets confronted by the Ghost Nation, and Stubbs tries to shut them down, but he's instead tackled to the ground by one of the Indians, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to get away. So the next morning, Logan wakes up. He discovers the entire camp has been massacred except for William. It turns out that William actually killed them all. And again, this is very much making me think that he could end up being the Man in Black, because we know how merciless the Man in Black is when it comes to killing. Like, he will just kill anyone. Anyone that gets in his way, he'll kill. Anyone that tries to, that irritates him, he'll kill. Even if they don't agree with him, he'll just kill them. So now it kind of is making sense why William could be the Man in Black. William kind of is becoming a cold-blooded killer, and he now understands how the game is played. I mean, Logan didn't just kill everyone. I mean, remember in episode 2 when Logan was killing people one by one? William has kind of become that, and William wants Logan's help to track Dolores down, warns him not to call him Billy ever again. And I like the way he's telling Logan, look, you're either gonna join me, or I'm gonna end up killing you. And honestly, I could see this ending up with William and ending up killing Logan. I could really see this season ending that way. Just the way this is going, and especially when we get back to the Man in Black, I recall that scene with him and Lawrence in episode 5, I believe, when he killed Lawrence just because he wasn't good for him anymore, and I feel like that same thing is about to play out with William and Logan. I feel like William is going to kill Logan. That's just what I'm thinking. I don't know if that actually is true, but I just have this feeling that he probably is going to kill Logan. That just seems that's the direction that we're headed with this, but we'll have to see. But as Bernard continues his trek into his past, he remembers when Maeve came alive for the first time and realized that the host can actually come alive. And Bernard also remembers his first conversation with Ford about Arnold, and I just thought this was just so well done, the way we got into his head and saw everything that Bernard is going through, seeing what's going on with that. I just thought all that was really interesting. So as Bernard and Ford's conversation takes place, we see Dolores. She heads into the original Westworld town and walks into this church, and she sees dozens of hosts trying to recall their own past, who clearly have forgotten their narratives and are starting to remember what they were. So Dolores walks in the church's confessional, which turns out to be an elevator into the original Westworld park, and she sees a young Ford looking for Arnold and follows him down into Ford's original workshop. And as you remember, the last time we saw this, of course, was that flashback with Ford, and we've seen this before, but meanwhile, Ford hands Bernard a picture of Bernard's son and explains that Bernard's backstory was an homage of sorts, and essentially what I thought was going to happen happens here, that basically Ford then sends Bernard all the way to his first memory, the memory of Bernard's son's death. And after a brief conversation, Bernard's son tells Bernard to open his eyes, which reveals his first true memory, his true first memory, which is waking up next to Ford, we see. So basically, Bernard's story was nothing more than just an ill-conceived story made by Ford. Just like how he's given each of these hosts their own backstory, Bernard never really had a son. He just had that imported into his brain to make him think that his life was actually real and that he was in fact human. And they did such a great job of the reveal too, like seeing his son, and then his son sounds like Ford, and then his wife sounds like Ford. Like, I just thought all of that was really well handled the way it was done. And then finally we see the truth finally comes out when it turns out that he wakes up and Ford goes to him and tells him, okay, we can't call you Arnold, so we're gonna call you Bernard. And it turns out that Ford actually designed Bernard after Arnold, using all of Arnold's original mannerisms, and that Arnold was, in fact, Jeffrey Wright. Like, Jeffrey Wright, as the actor, Arnold was the original Bernard. And the episode ends with Dolores talking to the real Arnold in Arnold's workshop, and this changes everything. This definitely makes me think that the conversations we've seen that were Dolores and Bernard were actually Arnold and Dolores. And Dolores says that the maze was supposed to bring her joy, but that's nowhere safe. Arnold tells Dolores to remember, and then she realizes that her hallucinations are just memories because she actually killed Arnold, we find out. That, she's just seeing this because of the guilt looming in on her now. We don't know what prompts her to kill Arnold or anything that happens there, but she did in fact kill him. Then we get to the ending here, which this is definitely something I definitely want to talk about. We see Dolores walks out of the confessional just in time for the Man in Black to walk into the church, and Dolores asks if it's William. He says hi to Dolores, and Dolores is completely horrified by what's going on here. So again, this definitely makes me think that this could very well be William, just the fact she called him William. I don't really know, though. But Bernard says he's going to find all the sentient hosts and free them because he's tired of Ford controlling everything. You know, he wants to get them out of there, but Ford warns that they won't trust him because he's helped oppress them for years. Again, Bernard's been under the notion that that he has been a human, and he's always thought that. So by Ford telling him that he's not able to free the hosts and everything, by him knowing this really changes things for Bernard. Now he wants to free them, but Ford explains that the outside world won't trust him, and that Bernard is in fact the real threat. And Bernard tells Clementine 1.0 to pull the trigger, but she actually doesn't. It turns out that Ford built a backend into Clementine's code and was in control all this time, we find out. So Ford hoped that Bernard would choose to rejoin him of his own free will, but he sees his time to wipe the slate clean, and Ford then forces Bernard to put the gun to Bernard's head, pull the trigger, and the episode ends with Ford walking away. Bernard literally shoots himself just as Ford ordered him to do, right as Bernard was about to save everyone and fix everything. We end with Bernard actually in a state where he might have actually just killed himself, and that is the way the episode ends. Insane stuff overall, but let's just get into this episode and where I think we're going to go in the finale, because honestly, I have no idea. So, wow, what a shocking episode that, yes, fans predicted, but I think was just a really well done reveal. And like I said, I'm not the hugest fan of fan theories because I feel like they debunked the show, and anything that could have been shocking isn't nearly as shocking. But this genuinely was shocking. I didn't really think that this was actually going to play out. I didn't think that Bernard was actually going to be designed after Arnold, and hearing everything that Ford did, the fact that he called him Arnold, the fact he called him Bernard, and when people have said this, when you rearrange, Arnold's and Bernard's name, it turns into Bernard, which is really cool the way that was done. The way that Ford just did that so quickly just shows how genius Ford really is, and Bernard's not gone. I don't think that Bernard's going to be gone. Bernard has always been one of our central characters. I doubt that he actually just died. I think that he is, in fact, going to be reincarnated or something like that. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but I feel like that's going to happen. I mean, if any host dies, as we know, they come back to life. But if they shoot themselves in the head, that's a completely different scenario. So I don't really know what's going to happen there. That's going to be very interesting to see what ends up going down with that. But like I said, this really changes everything. I mean, any time that we thought that we saw Bernard, we could have just been seeing Arnold. So now I don't really know. When was it Arnold and when was it Bernard? We don't really know what's going on there. My other big question is, was there actually a Charlie? Did Arnold possibly have a son that died and Ford just put that into Bernard's head? I mean, that's the part that I'm a bit confused about. I don't know if that actually happened, but that's kind of what I thought. But we'll have to see what's going to happen there, because I honestly don't know. But just knowing that Bernard was in fact Arnold, and that's a conversation to be seen with Dolores had in fact been Arnold. What prompted Dolores to kill Arnold? I don't really know. I'm personally thinking that Dolores was under Ford's control, and that Ford told Dolores to kill Arnold because Arnold was disagreeing with him, and that he didn't feel like Arnold was of any use to him, so Dolores killed him, kind of like what he did with Teresa. I feel like that's kind of the situation that happened with Arnold. I'd like to think that Dolores was the original Bernard, basically. Like, Dolores did things for Ford, that Ford tried to help Dolores, like, Ford tried to get Dolores to do things and things like that. That's what I'm personally thinking. I just couldn't really think of another instance where she did that. But as we know, she is kind of becoming a cold-blooded killer of sorts. I mean, the way she's killing people and just mowing down people one by one, I think is very interesting to see where that's going to go. But this whole thing with her and the Man in Black, I am 100% convinced now that the Man in Black and William are the same person. It's taken me a while to believe this theory. But after this, I can't see another theory. I just can't possibly think of something else that could be going down here. It has to be that the Man in Black and William are connected. I mean, just think about it. The way that he saw Dolores, and she thought that he was William, and then you go to the scene with William and Logan, they just seem very much alike. Like, William is becoming the Man in Black very quickly, and I could definitely see that happening here. But I will say that if we are getting flashbacks, I do think they're going to end after next week's episode. Like, I don't see William and Logan lasting much longer. I think their storyline's about to end next week. In fact, I heard that we're going to find out most of everything that's going on next week. Like, there's not really going to be an open ending, which is interesting. But like I said, I do think that we're going to end the season with William killing Logan. It just seems like the logical way to go. If William's killing people, then I think Logan is someone that he's going to have to kill. I mean, we know how much William said that he's wanted to do stuff to Logan for years. Like, he's always hated Logan. He has never liked the way that Logan treated him, but he's never really had the confidence to do so. And Westworld has given him the confidence. I feel like it's also given him the confidence to kill William. And to kill Logan. I think that's exactly where we are headed with William and Logan overall. I think it's probably going to end with William killing Logan by his own hand, but we'll have to see. If not that, then he's going to try to get Dolores to kill Logan, but I just feel like that's a bit of a stretch, as we know they're not supposed to kill guests, but we'll have to see. That's definitely going to be interesting. That whole scene with the Man in Black and Charlotte is very interesting to me, because we don't know what happened with William after he left Westworld. Again, if we're going with this story that William and the Man in Black are the same person, there's a lot of stuff we don't know. There's a lot of stuff that's just missing, especially the whole thing of, what happened to William after he left Westworld. Did he go to Ford? Because we know he's been there for 30 years, and we know that he's never gone to the end of the park, so we don't really know what happened, but we also know there was an incident that occurred 30 years ago, and I'm thinking that William and Dolores were the direct cause of said incident, and definitely I think we're going to see that play out next week. The maze is definitely happening next week. I mean, I just feel like that's where we're headed. We've heard about it all season. We're going to see that next week. I don't know in what capacity, but we're going to see that in some way. But that's definitely going to be very interesting, what ends up going down with that. Now, Bernard possibly killed Elsie, and we did, in fact, see him grab her in this episode. But again, we don't really know if she's dead or if he just tried to kill her and stopped himself. I'm going to say that she's dead, but whatever's going down with Stubbs, I don't really know what's going to happen there. I feel like Stubbs is going to get himself killed, because if Stubbs starts to think that something's going on with Bernard, Ford will absolutely kill him. In fact, I could see this ending with Ford killing every single one of the staff members. I don't know if it's going to end this season that way, but I feel like people don't really like Lee very much. Like, I've heard most people say that they don't like Lee, that they want him to go. Stubbs hasn't really been given much to do. Stubbs really isn't of use to Ford right now, even though he's very serious about what he does. He's starting to realize what's going on with Elsie. Then probably he's going to start pointing the finger towards Ford. Charlotte wants to completely get rid of Ford, so that she's definitely going to go. I could definitely see this ending up with all the staff being killed. I mean, think about it. Teresa's gone, Elsie's gone. We only have Stubbs, Lee, and Charlotte as the only humans left, and we don't even know if they're humans. I mean, I want to say they're humans, but we don't even know if that's true, which is definitely very interesting if they're not, because I don't really know what's going to happen there, but I want to say that they're humans, but again, I don't really know. I mean, the show is just so big that I just don't really know if that's actually true or not, but we'll have to see. Maeve, as we know, wants to get out of there, and I want to say that Maeve is going to be victorious with that. Like, she is going to be able to get out of there, but I feel like there's a very harsh reality waiting for her. And what I mean by that, like I said, is that I feel that whatever is outside of Westworld is a disaster. Like, it's either, like, in ruins or it's demolished. Just something about the outside of Westworld seems to be a very scary thought. And I don't really know exactly what is in the rest of Westworld, but just something about it seems that the rest of Westworld is completely in ruins or demolished, and I feel like we're going to spend a lot of season 2 there. Like, we're going to see definitely what went down in Westworld and what's outside of Westworld and everything, because people keep going back to Westworld for a certain reason. I've heard people even go as far as to say maybe they don't have horses in Westworld anymore. Maybe they don't even have humans in Westworld anymore. Maybe Westworld's the only place that populates humans. We don't really know. But either way, guys, let me know what you think of this episode. Love your thoughts on it. There's so much to talk about in this episode. There's so many great fan theories. Honestly, keep the fan theories going, because I really do love them. I think it's definitely is adding to the mystery of the show. Are they debunking the show? No. I think Bernard's reveal was very well done, and I think just knowing that he and Arnold are the same person, that was also very well done. And I feel like we're about to get the reveal of the Man, Black, and William are the same person. I feel like that very much is what's going down. I definitely think that 2-3 timeline theory is very much true, especially now knowing that Arnold is the same as Bernard. We're definitely dealing with three timelines here. Like, definitely the scenes with Dolores and Bernard were actually Dolores and Arnold. Those were definitely of 35 years ago. Definitely, I think that one went down there, but I don't really know. Either way, guys, in my review, hope you all enjoyed. Let me know if you guys saw this episode. Love your thoughts on it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for tonight's episode, Supergirl, which is also part 1 of the Heroes vs. Aliens crossover, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.